What's going on YouTube? Super Insane 18 here, and we are here with my Zoodiac Tri-Brigade Deck Profile. This is the most requested video I think I've ever had. After putting out that combo tutorial, everybody was asking for it, so here we are. Let's go ahead and jump on in. So, kicking things off, we only have two monsters that aren't part of any sort of archetype, and that is the Barrier Statue of Stormwinds and Blackwing Zephyros the Elite. The Blackwing is a cool little tech that I like. If you remember from the combo tutorial, it does actually get you in there. It is a very good discard fodder off of the Karis, and it just kind of extends your combos. Then into the Zoodiac engine, we are only playing one Ratpier and one Ram. We aren't playing any of the Thoroughblades. I just don't think they're necessary. Really, all you want to do is normal the Rat. That way you can load your graveyard. So this is all that we are playing. Then into the Tri-Brigades, we have 3 copy of Nerval, which pretty standard. 2 copy of Karis, 3 copy of Kit, and then 3 copy of Fractal. All of this is pretty standard, so just kind of the basic numbers that everybody is running. Then we have our hand traps, which are 3 Droll and Lockbird and 3 Ash Blossom. This is mostly just because I don't want to lose to Drytron. These are the best ones against Drytron, just generically speaking. I know in my hand trap video I said that Ghost Spell is probably the #1 hand trap of the format, but I think that this is just better all around as a just kind of generic catch-all. Moving on to the spells, we have 1 of Called by the Grave, followed by 2 of Pot of Desires. Pot of Desires is a personal preference of mine. You never run more than 2. I hate running 3 copies of this card because then, more often than not, I just Pot of Desires and draw Pot of Desires. In this deck, it isn't necessarily bad because you have effects like Ferrigy and Bear Bloom that can put the Pot of Desires back on bottom of your deck. But I still don't want to see it, so I just never run more than 2. We have 3 copies of Fire Formation Tenki. This is to search either the Fractal or the Rat. You mostly want to search the Rat with this, just because it does extend your combos just insanely. But sometimes you need the Fractal, so you go for that. And then the last spells we have are 3 copies of Forbidden Droplet. This is just a great card. It's one of the only outs to the Herald of Ultimateness, cards like Dragoons, and you benefit off of it because if you discard your Nerval or your Kit, you get their effects, so it's just kind of a win-win there. Onto the traps, we have 1 copy of Imperial Order. Imperial Order is almost a death sentence against Drytron, so just overall good. 3 copies of Solemn Strike, just probably the best counter trap right now. Being able to negate special summons or monster effects at only 1500 cost is pretty good. We have Torrential Tribute, just probably one of the better regular traps in the game right now. Being able to just clear the board isn't really detrimental to you because any one Tri-Brigade will just get you back in there, plus you have cards like Revolt, so I really like Torrential. And finally, we have the 3 copies of Revolt. This card is absolutely insane. The fact that we can search it now is what makes this deck as good as it is. So let's go ahead and take a look at the extra deck. Now, for the extra deck, we are only running 3 actual Zoodiac cards. Because Drident is banned, this is really all you need. The only purpose of this is mostly to get you loaded in the graveyard with your Tri-Beast types, but you do have the Borbo so that you can go into our last XYZ, which is Zeus. Really just a great card being able to nuke the field, so you have to run it. Moving on to links, we have Salamangreat Almirage. This is for your Kit and Nerval. If you have nothing else, you can normal them and link this off to get their effects. The Double Dragon Lords, which is honestly kind of a death sentence if you put it up with the Wind Barrier statue, because their only out to the Wind Barrier statue is usually to normal something and run it over. But if you can bounce their normal summon, they're locked out of special summoning, so pretty good there. The Heartbeat Conductor, just a good generic link too that you can use to make the Samorg. That's really its only purpose here. Moving on to the Link 3s, we have the Doom Eagle. This kind of helps you get yourself out of the Wind Barrier lock. If you have the Wind Barrier, you can make this by linking the Wind Barrier away. And also, if you don't want to link the Wind Barrier away, just normal summoning any Tri-Brigade, banishing 3 to summon this is also a good option. And then obviously we have the Samorg. This is what lets you get into the Barrier statue, so really good turn 1 play just to kind of hold your opponent off. Onto the Link 4s, we have Access Code Talker, which is pretty much your Game Sealer. You're going to go into this and just swing for loads of damage after popping a bunch of cards because you run pretty much every attribute Link monster under the sun. And Appaloosa. Appaloosa is just a really good thing to end on. You can make this as your 5th summon, so you kind of can be Nibiru-proof, and who doesn't just like having a bunch of negates? Then we have 1 copy of Bearbloom and 1 copy of Ferrigeat. I really want to run 2 copies of Bearbloom because if you can hard make it, then you can use it to recycle your revolts. But you can't always do that, so running a second would make that a little bit easier. Because if it's not hard summoned, if you summon it off of like a Tri-Brigade effect, then you can't reborn it with Revolt. But if you do hard summon it, you can Revolt reborn it, and then when you link it away, search another Revolt. So I think that's a really cool interaction, but I just don't have the room for it. And finishing up, we have the Double Shureg, the Ominous Omen. This is just kind of a turn 1 combo extender, being able to search for any of your Tri-Beast types, plus it is your Revolt fodder, being able to just non-target banish on your opponent's turn. Really good, but that seals up the extra deck. Let's take a look at the side. Alright, so kicking off the side, we have 3 copies of Ally of Justice Cycle Reader. This is solely for the Drytron matchup. Just being able to DD Crow 2 of their monsters is really good. So not really too much to be said there. That's pretty much all that we need. Then we have 3 copies of Artifact Lancia. This is mostly for the mirror match, but I mean, it can be used against stuff like Invoke Shaddoll. So take that as you will. The 1 copy of Pankratops. I think Pankratops is an absolutely oppressive card. Siding it and going second is just honestly free in most scenarios. So really good card to have. 3 copies of Alpha Master of Beast. This is mostly for the Shaddoll Invoked because it is a great win to out, but honestly, you can side this in against a lot of different things. Pretty much anything that you would want to Kaiju, you can put this in. Granted, if you're staring down something like a Herald of Ultimateness, a Kaiju would be better, but this can still put in some decent work. Then we have 2 copies of Twin Twister just to hate on back row, and finally 3 copies of Lightning Storm just as a generic catch-all, whether you want to clear your monsters or back row. Just a really good card to have. And there you guys have it. That is my deck profile for Zoodiac Tri-Brigade. I do want to say that my friend who hasn't played Yu-Gi-Oh! In a little over 5 years took this to our local tournament on Thursday last week. It was a 30-man event, and he just took shy of top 8. He did make 9th. But that's after not playing for 5 years, so that does have something to be said about how good this deck is. So if you liked, make sure to like, subscribe, share it with your friends, and I will see you guys next time.